I'm your host, Edward Mbeche, CEO and founder of Helen Technology or Helen Super App. Today, I have my friend Ray Hyde Cornell. I
Yeah,
was looking down to mess up your name. Ray, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Edward. Thanks for having me here.
So awesome to have you, my friend. How you been? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's been great. It's been, oh my gosh, I don't know how we're already at the end of October, but this
I
year
know.
has just flown by. The summer
Yeah,
was probably the fastest summer that I can remember in years.
yeah. And I know, like, oh, where are you again?
I'm in Lubbock, Texas.
Okay, so and I know probably like the heat over there too, right? For some it was right, but
Oh my God,
again,
it
yeah,
was crazy. Yeah, in the
mhm,
summer, we had a whole week where it was about 106 every
oh,
day. And
jeez,
then just about 3 days ago, the weather decided to flip a switch. And I woke up this morning and it was 39 degrees outside.
I
So
know,
it's
like
just
freezing.
like, yeah. And I live in
Yeah,
a town with really high elevation. And so it actually snows here. So
yeah,
we're just getting all the seasons.
yeah. It's like you when you want to go outside, it's like you don't know what to do. Like, do you
Yeah.
take an umbrella, a snow coat, or do you
Yeah.
wear like some tank top kind of like
All of the
or
above.
short? I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I know, like, if someone made a joke on TikTok, like they were like they live in Texas and they're like, oh, let me go get my mail. And then my mail, you know how like you just walk to get your mail. So they were showing the transition because it's so hot. It's like by the time they get to the mail and come back, they are drenched out like this, like they had their hair nice and everything, but by the time they came back, like drenched out, like it was raining or some just sweating, just crazy.
Yeah, that
Uh,
sounds about
um,
right.
you know. So let's do this. Let's do a quick introduction for people. I know I just mentioned your name, but for people maybe to just let's do a whatever it's called. That's called like a elevator pitch. Who
Sure.
who's Ray?
Sure. So
Mm,
I've been a copywriter and content writer for about 15 years now, and I
mm,
now run a full service content marketing agency called Cornell Content Marketing. And over the years, I've built my team of amazing creative freelancers, and I kind of naturally fell into a business mentoring role with some of them. So that was so fulfilling, and I enjoyed it so much that I've now created a second business specifically for business mentoring and helping freelancers build healthier, happier, more profitable self-employed businesses.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So now let's go back now for people to just get to know Ray.
Sure.
Right? Can you give me let's go way back. Like where did Ray grow up? Like, did you grow up in Texas? Did you grow up in San Diego? Where did you grow up? And maybe also, were you a cheerleader? Were you a Girl Scout? Like,
Yeah.
were you a Min Girl? Like, yeah. Let's go that way. Mhm.
Um, so I grew up in a little town just northeast of San Diego called Ramona, and
You
both
see
my
how
parents.
I guessed San Diego and I didn't, yeah,
Yeah,
go
I'm
ahead.
like, how did you know that? That's kind of spooky. Yeah,
Yeah.
but both my parents were cops, and I was very independent from a very young age, and
Mhm.
so I was definitely not like the popular girl in school or anything like that. I was the little
Yeah.
nerd. And in the fourth grade, I changed schools. And when I changed schools, I went through this transition where I had no friends because I was like disconnected from my friends at my old school. And I didn't yet know anybody at my new school. And so in the summer before my fourth grade year, I spent the whole summer on the computer and I taught myself HTML and CSS and PHP and all the website coding things, which fast forward to undergrad, that's how I started getting my first job on campus. I was a web developer for the university, and that I guess was an in-demand skill. And so
Mhm.
when I was in undergrad, I actually had 7 or 8 jobs on campus working for different departments doing their website development and eventually website copywriting.
You're getting paid for this, like really good money with it.
Y-
Yep.
Well, yeah, I think, and also I was doing a work study program. So
Mhm.
when you do that, your pay is subsidized,
Mhm.
and so the school only pays for a portion of your pay, and so they actually give you a higher hourly rate. So I think I started out at like 22 or $25 an hour,
Mhm.
which for a college student in
Yeah,
2007 was
that's
phenomenal. So,
yeah, that's a lot. That's good, right?
oh yeah, yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me this experience. I'm kind of fascinating for someone who have like their parents both cops, right?
Mhm.
So it's like with this both cops, parents, they're exposed to a new different world, right?
Mhm.
They see horrible things or they see good things, but it's like so like it's like I'm trying to figure is like how do they mold their kids, right?
Yeah.
In the standpoint of like, hey, uh this is the real world. You have to learn about this because it's I know totally it's going to be different if you have like two parents who work maybe uh at the corporation somewhere and so,
Yeah.
and you have these two parents who are cops. Tell me the experience a little bit. and,
Yeah.
and
So,
and probably dating for you probably was horrible too. Like trying to
well,
date you, your father was.
I think my dad was very good at putting on a tough front, but he's a teddy bear. And so for me, yeah, you could say that dating was rough, just because a lot of people were intimidated by my dad. He's also 6'4", so he's a very
Oh.
large man, and
Yeah, yeah.
he just has this very imposing presence when he wants to be, but also he can let down his guard and just be a real softie.
Yeah,
But I actually dated the same guy throughout all of high school, and
yeah.
so dating for me was really just one person. So that part was easy. But yeah, growing up with two cops, they didn't shelter me from anything. They were very open and honest about everything. And it was on the one hand kind of a good thing because I got to see like what the real world actually looked like,
Yeah.
but on the other hand there were probably things that I learned as a child that a child should never
You
learn.
should know.
So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, my dad was a patrol officer and eventually moved into the traffic division. So for the majority of my childhood he was, doing DUI checkpoints and writing speeding tickets and things like that. And my mom was a gangs detective. She
Mm,
worked the Asian gangs unit in the San Diego PD. And I think my dad would tell me about crashes and, motorcycle accidents and warn me against all these things.
mm.
But my mom would come home with some pretty gruesome files. Or I remember one time when I was a kid, I was eating dinner and there was a Ziploc baggie, like one of those like gallon Ziploc bags of 9mm bullets just right next to me on the dining room table. I was
That's
eating
what you
dinner.
say. Like, probably they should not be exposed to a kid.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
when I was a kid, it was normal, and
yeah,
the police department was my babysitter. My parents would work really long shifts, and
mhm,
we would have to drive down the hill from Ramona, which is this little mountain town.
yeah,
I have to drive into San Diego for them to go to work, and they would just drop me off at the station if their shifts didn't line up perfectly, and I would
yeah,
just kind of like hang out under my mom's desk and just like, hang out in the break room and
yeah,
I don't know, watch whatever was on daytime television and eat out
mhm,
of the vending machine
mhm,
until my dad was off and then he could take me home.
yeah.
So that was
That's
the
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 what I
cop
experienced.
culture that I grew up in.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. But it's funny too. Like I was thinking, like for someone, a lot of the time, someone with that kind of background, like you have your parents, probably you end up also becoming also a cop. Were you
Mm.
interested? What your parents maybe trying to steer you away from, like no, like or they like law enforcement, become a lawyer or become
Yeah, they didn't really steer me much at all. I was
mm,
pretty headstrong as a kid,
mm,
and for a long time as a kid, dear Lord, this must have scared my grandmother to death when she heard me say this, but I wanted to be a medical examiner. When
mm,
I was like in elementary and middle school, I wanted to
yeah,
be an ME. And
mm,
then when I got into high school, I kind of shifted and I got really interested in psychology.
mm,
And so my plan was to be a counselor in the prison system. So there
mm,
was definitely a criminology influence there. And I
yeah,
did go on to get 2 degrees in psychology and one in criminology.
mm,
Um, and of course, now I do something very different. I'm in
yeah, yeah,
marketing and
yeah,
online business, but
yeah,
you can still see influences of the criminology and of that cop culture in my website, Cornell Content Marketing. I mean, our tagline is "Bad copy is a crime," so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it still exists. It still has an influence for sure.
So how did you end up in Texas from San Diego? It's like I feel like San Diego is so nice, and then you go to Texas. I don't know,
Yeah.
just different kind of, yeah, how you end up.
Totally different, night
Yeah.
and day different.
Yeah.
So my husband and I, we met in San Diego, of course,
Mhm.
not married at the time, but when we decided to move to Texas, it was because his mom's cancer came back
Mhm.
and we didn't know how long we would have with her. And my family, I was very fortunate. All of my family members are still very healthy.
Mhm.
They're all living in San Diego, but we didn't know how much time we'd have with his mom. And so we I can work from anywhere, and he
Yeah.
was able to get a transfer for the company that he was working with at the time. And we moved out to Lubbock, Texas, and it was wildly different. I mean,
Yeah.
San Diego, I don't even know what the population is. I'm going to guess like 3 million, 6 million,
Mhm.
something like that. And
Mhm.
Lubbock is 300,000. So we went
Yeah.
from the concrete jungle and very
Yeah.
beachy culture
Yeah.
to dusty Texas, super conservative town.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so like now let's go back to copywriting and
Mm.
being a mentor. So you're in college, you're doing this. You fall into copywriting and you're starting creating website, and from there, how did you end up transitioning from that to starting your own coaching uh, business?
Yeah. So I was initially going to school for psychology and I did
Mhm.
earn my bachelor's degree in psychology. But when I was in college, I came into college at 17 and I came
Mhm.
in as a sophomore. And because when I was in high school, I won't go into the whole backstory, but basically, I
Mhm.
dropped out of high school at 16.
Mhm.
I got my high school diploma with college credits that I
Mhm.
completed in a 6 week period. And so I was done with high school at 16, went to undergrad at 17, and went in with all those college credits. And so I was on kind of a fast track and got my degree in psychology, but I was not able to hold a typical job for
Mhm.
very long. I was actually at the end of my first year. I consider it my freshman year, but technically it was my sophomore.
Yeah.
Um, I was assaulted on campus, and
Mhm.
I just developed horrible PTSD. The assailant was still friends with all of my friends, and he was still around, and he was very aggressive and threatening. And so I just kind of shut myself in my dorm room, and I was a terrible employee. I could not show up on time. I couldn't wake up in the morning. I could barely hold myself together. And so I started doing writing online. I had luckily developed this skill and this understanding that the skills that I had developed when I was in fourth grade were actually in demand. And so I turned that into a online
Mhm.
stream of income. And I started doing freelance writing on the side, and that became my lifesaver. That was what got me through college. I ended up graduating as fast as I possibly could. I just wanted to get the hell out of there.
Mhm.
And then I ended up moving back down to San Diego for my master's program and got a master's degree in professional clinical counseling and marriage and family therapy.
Mhm.
Met my husband, fell madly in love, moved to Texas, got another degree in criminology,
Mhm.
and I was on track to be that counselor in the prison system that I had always thought I was going to be. And I completely burned out of the mental health world. It
Mhm.
was just this revolving door of seeing the same patients over and over and over again. And clearly, the treatment protocols we were putting them through were not helping because they were
Yeah.
coming back. And yet, my supervisor kept telling me, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is the protocol when working at the mental hospital. And so I left. I just completely burned out on that world and threw
Yes.
myself full time into my freelance writing business.
Mhm.
And as I did that, once I went full time in my creative business, it just blew up in the best possible way. It just grew and
Yeah.
grew and grew. And there came a time when I couldn't handle it all. And first
Mhm.
I hired a VA, and then I hired a blog writer, and then I hired another blog writer, and then I
Yeah.
hired a designer. And I just slowly built up this agency, which I didn't even know that's what I was doing at the time. I was just trying to keep up with the workflow.
Yeah.
And because I had been there before. I had started an online business from scratch, not knowing what I was doing. And I saw that in a lot of my writers and team members where
Mhm.
they were very early stage entrepreneurs as well.
Mhm.
I just kind of naturally fell into a mentoring role with them. And, they'd come to me and they'd say, hey, I charge $25 for a blog post. And I'd say, oh, no, you do not. That is way too low. You cannot
Yeah.
live off of that. And so I would give them pay increases, like forced pay increases on them, basically.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of naturally had this very trusting, mentory like relationship. And I loved it. I absolutely loved every minute of it. So that's why I ended up, that was my very long winded way of answering your question. That's how I
No,
ended
no,
up
no, no, no. No,
building
this
my
is good.
business.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
good. And but it's just so sad also to kind of hear like where you went through like in college.
Mhm.
Like with this in college, like the horrible experience that you went through, if someone you were to give advice, what would you say to them if they like to just kind of help them to learn or to kind of give them advice on how to deal with it? Do
Yeah.
you what would you say to them if someone is
Yeah.
going through that now, or kind of maybe they went through that, they're still having the same kind of problem, kind of PSD. Why am I messing up?
PTSD. Yeah.
PTSD. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are a few things that I would say. The first one is that response that you're having is normal.
Mm.
So when it happened to me, nobody around me understood. They thought I was being antisocial. They thought I was
Yeah.
being a party pooper. They thought I just was moody or
Mm.
whatever they could use to describe the weirdness that I was going through.
Yeah.
And I really withdrew from my social group and I was kind of the loner. And um, I would just say that's normal, that you have to find a way to heal. And
Mhm.
for me, I couldn't heal and be around other people and go to college parties and do all of that.
Mhm.
And when I tried, it was really uncomfortable. It was really awkward. I just probably looked like a nutcase. And so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was better
yeah.
for me to
Mhm.
stay in my room and just sort through all of the emotions that I was going through. So that's the first thing I would say is that that emotional response that you're feeling and everything that you're wanting to withdraw from, that's normal. The
Mhm.
second thing I would say is you have to have something on the horizon to look forward to. And for me, that was deciding this was not going to be my life.
Mhm.
This is what I was going through right now, but I set my sights on other goals. And it was whatever was closest. So, for example, first, get the hell off that campus. I just
Yeah.
wanted to graduate, get my degree. I didn't want to drop out like I did in high school. I
Mhm.
just wanted to get my degree, finish, and move and leave and get out of there.
Mhm.
And then once I did that, I set my sight on another goal. Okay, I want to get this particular apartment. I did that. Okay, now I want to finish this degree. I did that. And
Mhm.
for me, school was what I was always good at. I was in Montessori school as a kid. I took advanced placement classes in high school. I was in the GATE program in elementary school. School was just naturally my comfort zone. And so
Yeah.
that's what I focused on. So if someone is going through that, I'd say figure out what comes naturally to you and focus on a goal, and in doing that, you are taking your mind out of the present situation and you're putting it outside of those circumstances so that you can say, this, what I'm going through right now, this is not going to be my life forever.
Yeah.
I need to work through it, but this is not going to last the rest of my life. And eventually you will get there. And of course, you know, I was very lucky. I met my husband and he helped me through a very, very, very dark period just by being there. And so I would also say you need to have someone, as much as you want to isolate,
Yeah.
whether you work with a therapist through one of these great online platforms that have emerged since COVID happened, or whether you have a best friend you can talk to, or a romantic partner, whoever it is, you have to have someone that you feel safe with and that you can process things with.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. If you're tuning in, listening, I'm talking to Ray Hyde Cornell. Ray, so let's talk about. I know you're the CEO and founder of two companies right now. So you have the Cornell Content Marketing Company,
Mhm.
right? Which
Yes.
is like you have established for years, and then you have the business coach, the
Mhm.
business mentor and coach for freelancer. I can't say the name of the business.
Kyron.
Kyron. Okay. Okay, Kyron, business mentor and coach for freelance. So the content marketing, let's jump into the content marketing, which you
Sure.
have been doing for years, right? From
Yes.
from college, you have established, like, actually 15 years, a really good experience to have, because probably even 15 years ago, people did not know much about content marketing, and
Mhm.
which became just a huge thing. Can you walk us through this content? What is content marketing?
Yeah.
Maybe kind of go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, good question. So the reason I love content marketing is because it is a problem solution relationship. I don't do any kind of advertising. So, advertising is when you see billboards, you see ads, you're watching YouTube and an ad interrupts what you're watching. You're watching something on a free streaming platform and an ad interrupts your show. That's advertising, and people hate it.
Yeah.
So, why do it? Nobody likes it. Maybe it's effective in a small percentage um, sort of way. It's incrementally effective, but people don't enjoy it. And so
Mhm.
I don't want to be advertised to, so I don't do advertising.
Mhm.
What I enjoy is when I go online and I type in a question to a problem I'm having and I get an answer. I
Mhm.
get a blog, I get a video, I get a podcast that is answering my question, that is solving my problem.
Yeah.
That is content marketing. Content marketing can take the form of blog posts, website pages, podcasts, videos, social media content, infographics, lead magnets like ebooks, checklists, anything like that where you are going to Google. And this is the great thing about it, because
Yeah.
if companies can get into the head of their customer and say, what are they struggling with, what questions are they asking, what problems are they having, and they
Mhm.
can create content that solves those problems, then it's like a set it and forget it sort of thing where your customers are going to go to Google, they're going to type in the questions for their problems, and they're
Yeah.
going to find you.
Mhm.
They're coming to you. They are suddenly a warm lead. You never have to do cold outreach. You never have to cold call people. You never have to solicit people. It's a much more organic relationship that forms on a very authentic platform, which is, hey, I have a problem and you have a solution. Well, then, yeah, please take my money. Like, solve
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
problem, please.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess also with this content marketing, and I see, probably, so for each company probably should have that strategy, to should have that, in their strategy, probably they should have that. So in dealing with content, marketing, and I myself as a business owner, I have seen like a lot of company, or maybe small company, where they emerge themselves, hey, you know what, instead of me getting a firm, right, instead of me going to Cornell content marketing,
Mhm.
because I feel like I might get charged so much, I'm just gonna go into website like Fiverr or Upwork or whatever, get some freelancer from there, and
Mhm.
then, and I have seen this too. I'm trying to be like, hey, I need to write a blog, and then I'll post the job like on Upwork or whatever, and then I will get a bunch of applicant. Like, so here's where it
Yeah.
become tricky, right? So I get a company, like maybe someone like you,
Mhm.
who is like, hey, okay, I will do a blog for you, 400 words, and I will charge you $1,000. And then someone comes from
That's high
someone,
for the record.
yeah, just example, yeah. Let's say five, $1,000, and then someone, look and be like, oh, where are you? Oh, you're in Ukraine or you're in Bangladesh, somewhere. I would charge you $100. So you're looking at
Mhm.
like, do I pay $1,000 or do I pay $100? So how do you choose? Like, I guess my question, it goes like, how do you select the right content marketing people that can do
Yeah.
is this also like, it's not like, oh, I just need one blog a month, or just like a week, or like, just not necessarily like I want like something ongoing, maybe just one
Sure.
blog a month. How do you pick the right agents or firm?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all is understanding what you can expect to pay. So if you're going to Fiverr, you can probably expect to pay a writer $25, $30, $50 for that blog post. And you are going to get just that blog post, and you are going to get a piece of content that is only as good as the directions you can give that writer.
Mhm.
If you don't know exactly what you want, if you don't know what the strategy is, if you don't know what the SEO keyword is, it's going to be very difficult to find someone on Fiverr or Upwork who can fill in those gaps for you and do a good job. Because if you think about the platform, these people are getting paid so little that they have to take on as many jobs as they can, and they're just churning them out. They're just doing the bare minimum to get the
Yeah.
job done and get the paycheck. And then Upwork also takes 20% of what
Yeah.
they've earned. So they are going for quantity. Now, on the flip side of that, if you were to go with a content marketing agency, again, know what to expect to pay. There are some agencies that are going to charge you $1,000 or more for a blog post. And I will say that is, I don't like that. Personally, I try to make our services as accessible as possible while still giving our clients the highest quality content possible. Now, there are certain industries where you can expect to pay more. If you are in a highly technological industry like cybersecurity or enterprise level SaaS or something like that, your content's going to be more expensive because it's more specialized. Same thing with things like law firms and financial advising. That's another notoriously difficult one, just because you have to understand all of the compliance pieces of those industries in order to write content that's not going to get you into trouble. So unless you're in a highly specialized industry, you're not going to ever pay $1,000 for a blog post, or you shouldn't. If an agency wants to charge you that, find another agency, because that's just too much. With an agency, though, what you're going to get is a complete strategy, a complete plan. I will not do someone's content without first doing research into their competitors, doing SEO research, putting together a plan for at least the next 3 months to make sure that all of the pieces work together,
Yeah.
and that what I'm doing for you is actually going to make a difference. Because I don't want you to pay me unless we are contributing to your goals. And that's the other thing that we're going to talk about on our kickoff call is, what are your goals? Are you trying to get more inbound leads? Are you trying to get more people signing up for your email list because maybe email is extremely effective for you? Are you trying to convert people right there on your site and sell maybe a lower ticket product-based item? What is the goal? Are we trying to get people booked on sales calls for higher ticket items or services? We have to understand the goal, and then I'm going to design an editorial calendar for you that gets people to that ultimate goal that you want to achieve. And then I'm going to layer in SEO, keyword research. I'm going to layer in super engaging topics, and I have a particular style of writing that I teach everyone on my team that is mentally and emotionally very satisfying to the person who is reading the content. And so you are going to pay more with an agency like mine compared to what you would on Upwork or Fiverr, but you're also going to get a lot more. You're going to get results, and you're going to have everything taken off your plate.
So actually, this is good. Actually, kind of answered one of my questions. So, for someone who's coming to you, and so they come into, of course, Cornell content marketing. The first thing is like you're creating a strategy for them, like for like okay, this is like a 3-6 month strategy, right?
Yeah.
And so probably for someone who can you work with someone who just say, hey, I just need one blog post? Or is it more like, hey, that's a waste of time and money kind of?
It depends. So we do have some clients who want thought leadership content. And what that is they're an expert, they're a consultant, maybe they're a coach, maybe they're a training facilitator, and they just want to get their unique perspective and what makes them different. They want to get that into a blog post so that then they can put that into their sales process and share it with potential leads. In situations like that, yes, we will do one blog post or one per month, because that's the goal, right? Is just for them to have small chunks of content to explain why they are the right consultant for the people they want to work with. So That's a situational kind of case. But if we're doing research-based content that is designed for inbound traffic, meaning someone's going to Google, typing something in, they find your blog, they go to your website, then typically no, one blog per month is not going to cut it, and we need a bigger strategy than that.
Okay. So question, would this also so let's say we you mentioned about cybersecurity, right?
Mhm.
So you create a strategy for cybersecurity. Is this all the contents is gonna be always all the blog posts is gonna always be about cybersecurity? Or is it like are you mixing it? Like what exactly will this kind of look like? Let's say even
Yeah.
like a real estate. Will all this content we just be about real estate or will
No.
be like okay, so how okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. So
Mhm.
let's take the real estate example because that's much easier, and cybersecurity is pretty bonkers. So there's a
Yeah.
lot more that goes into that. But with real estate, for instance, who does the real estate agent want to connect with? They want to connect
Mhm.
with people who are either trying to sell their home
Yeah.
or are looking to buy a home.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's take one of those. Let's say the people who are trying to sell their home. What are they struggling with? Maybe they're typing things into Google like how to stage your home to help
Yeah.
it sell faster. Or what scented candle should I put on when people are showing my house? They're going to be typing those sorts of things into Google.
Yeah.
That is the exact kind of content that the real estate agent should be creating and publishing. People don't care about, oh, the best real estate sales tactics. I mean, some people do, but if you're going for that particular market, you want to think about what are they struggling with? What are they typing into Google? And then create that content.
So why end up starting this new company where you're doing business mentoring coaching for freelancer? Like why are you teaching them into are you teaching them in the content management? Are you teaching them to
Mm.
be a freelancer? Like to do anything, can be a graphic designer, can be content marketing. What exactly with this coaching? And
Yeah. So as we're brought up through school,
mhm,
middle school, high school, undergrad, and so on, we are taught a very traditional form of employment and a traditional lifestyle.
yeah,
Everyone's heard the whole prescription of get good grades, get to a good college, graduate, get the job, move up the ladder, aim for the corner office, get married, have the 2.5 kids, get a house. That's what we are trained for subliminally in Western culture. But a lot of us have said, that doesn't really work for me. And we go off and do our own thing.
mhm,
I'm trying to create the training platform for people who have decided that the W 2 world, the traditional employment world, is not right for them. So, those are freelance writers, freelance graphic designers, VAs, OBMs, social media managers, podcast producers, video editors, website developers, people who have a creative service
mhm.
and they are offering that as their source of income. When you do that, when you're selling something that you create,
Yeah.
it's a whole different world. It's a whole different mindset. There's a whole different emotional toll that it takes on you. And my goal with Chiron Consulting is to teach freelancers how to design their days, how to price themselves, how to have successful contracts and proposals so that running their business, which is an extension of them, is easier, takes less energy, and flows naturally with the life that they want to live. Because when you are a creative entrepreneur, it's very easy to pour everything you have into your business and burn out.
Yeah.
But if you really want this to be a career, if you want this to be the way that you fund your entire life, including going on vacations and having a retirement plan and having health insurance and all of these things, then you need to think very differently about your business, less of a gig to gig sort of
Yeah.
mindset and more
Yeah.
of a business owner mindset. And so that's what I teach people at Chiron Consulting.
That's good. It kind of helped them. Actually, you being kind and being nice to them. Be like, hey, I'm gonna teach you not to go through all the BS that I went through. So it's
Yeah,
like you gotta. So that's kind of awesome.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
why is it? Let's go back to the. I know we were talking about the business coaching and the mentoring. Let's go back to the content management. So a firm like a company that they have, why is it like I'm trying to see the difference?
Mhm.
Why should we hire you instead of hiring someone in house?
That's a good question. So oftentimes it's more expensive to hire someone in-house.
Hmm.
So for if you were to outsource your content creation to us, and
Hmm.
I'll just tell you guys our prices. If we're doing 5 blogs per month for you, it's $2,100. If you are going to hire someone in-house to maybe be your content manager, to put together the editorial calendar, to
Yeah,
do all the SEO research, to figure out what topics you're going to do, to book interviews with people who you might need to do for thought leadership content, to write all the content, self edit, image source, publish, all of that, manage the comments on your blog, all of that.
yeah,
It's probably going to be more than that, not just in their monthly salary, but also you have employment taxes, and there are certain benefits that if you're hiring employees and you're a certain size business, you have to
yeah,
offer them certain benefits and things like that. Often it's going to be more expensive to hire someone in house. The other thing with outsourcing is it's much easier to find the right fit for you when you are looking for an outsourced partner
yeah.
as opposed to hiring someone, onboarding them, taking all that time to train them, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, you or the employee decides this isn't a good fit. And then you've got to do it all over again.
Yeah,
You don't have to
actually,
worry about that with an outsourced
yeah, that's
firm.
a good. Actually, that's a really good thing too. You mentioned it comes into like even not like necessarily like a week. It might be just they stay. Oh, somebody said hi. So even if they stay like 6 months or whatever, few months, and then they decide to leave for whatever reason, you're right. So then you got to start all onboarding then again. So I like this idea, and I was thinking too, like by using uh, like your firm, right? The Cornell content marketing. So it's like it's your business. You learn about my business, so you have a whole string of information instead of me say every time I gotta come to you, I gotta explain to you what's my company. So it's like you already created the strategy for the company. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And often when you hire an employee, you have to give them a lot of direction. You have
yeah,
to say, this is what we want. This is what we're trying to rank for. These are the kinds of topics that our target customers are typing into Google.
mhm,
With someone like me, I do all that for you.
mhm,
Most of my clients spend an hour, maybe 2 hours per month reviewing the content in the next batch of topics that I'm providing them. And that's it. They never think about their content marketing ever again. I handle it
yeah.
all.
Yeah. And then also it goes to so with your team, like so now you have a team, right? So
Mhm.
you have a growing team. Should I be if I'm a business owner and I'm outsourcing my content marketing to you, am I also doing am I hiring someone to kind of go through your content to kind of edit to make sure like
Mm.
everything because now it's different. Like if I'm dealing with you and then you giving the job to your employee or
Mhm.
whatever, should I be concerned like the quality
Mm.
because also you're gonna go through the same thing. So you're the main person by you hiring people, but also you're gonna not probably everybody's gonna trying to stay with you. Probably they're gonna have the same problem of
Mm.
staying for a few months and they'll be like, you know what?
My writers stay
Yeah.
with me for years.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
and
That's
I would
good.
say that as a marketing agency, we're a little different in that way, where a lot of times when you work with a marketing agency, you talk to maybe the CEO or the owner or a sales representative. And as soon as they've sold you and you've signed that contract, they hand you over to a project manager.
Yeah.
We don't do that. I talk to all of our clients. I am their main point of contact. I'm the one who figures out, can we actually help you? How
Yeah.
do we help you? Okay, yes, we can help you. Here's the plan that I would recommend. And then they still talk to me for months and years and however long we decide to work together. I'm always there in the process. Also, we have layers of quality assurance. So it's really important to choose a partner who you know that they care about your content and your success as much
Yeah.
as you do.
Yeah.
And I am a stickler for grammar and style and format and best web practices. I
Yeah.
probably drive my team a little nuts, but
Mm,
I feel like, and probably anybody on my team would tell you this, they've learned a lot from
mm,
working with us and learning the best way to write content for it to be the most effective. And
mm.
so so I give the creative direction to my writers.
Yeah.
My writers write the content. Then it goes to an editor who is just as, if not more neurotic about proper formatting and spelling and grammar and punctuation and all of that as I am. Our editor looks it over, makes edits. Then it goes to our project manager, who happens to be my husband. And then it goes to me before it goes to the client. So we have these layers built in to make sure that nothing is
Okay.
getting through the
That's
gates to our client. And the
yeah.
client is only seeing the publish ready article. They are seeing it as, if you approve of this, this is exactly how it's going to go live on your website. So we at Cornell want to make sure that it's perfect,
Mhm.
because once it's perfect and they say yes, done, we can publish.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That actually kind of answered my next question, which is like I was kind of worried about, like, because kind of giving this content, um, what's the word? Like kind of what's
Like
the word?
delegating.
Delegate. Here we go.
Yeah.
Delegate. So by delegating, I feel like the message might be get diluted. Is it
Mm,
diluted? Yes, that's the word. I think diluted. Like, so
yeah.
it's like kind of, but if you already set up these stages or this, like, so it's like, hey, once this, so that's really good. And also I was kind of thinking too, and I was like, whoa, if you gotta deal with all the customer, you gotta deal with this, you get burned out. Then I was like, oh
Mm,
wait, but you already have this already, so it doesn't really necessarily, like, let's say, hey, you say, hey Ray, I'm going to San Diego this week, so you're okay because you already know there's already
yeah.
stages that, so you don't have to worry about like leaving your team.
Yes.
They will still do a good job. That's
And
awesome. Mhm.
we have redundancies built into our team. So we always have multiple writers, we have multiple editors, we have multiple VAs.
Mhm.
And my husband and I, he's our project manager, and I can trade off responsibilities.
Yeah,
So I've learned over the years, and I had to learn this the hard way, of things not going right. But
yeah.
now we have the systems in place where the ball is never going to be dropped, because there's always someone else right there to catch it.
Yeah. So this, I was thinking too, like when it comes to hiring people for your firm,
Mhm.
for someone like, let's say they are thinking about starting a content management firm, right? What would you suggest for them for onboarding? Because like, look at the way you
Mhm.
came from psychology major to
Mhm.
criminal justice, right?
Mhm.
And then but you find your niche, like you find your passion that you did not care for, like for the criminal
Yeah.
justice or the, with all this psychology, whatever. Although it's like I was thinking about, like, what background does someone need to be hired for a content
Mhm.
marketing firm? Because I'm thinking maybe they should have a background in communications and business
Mm,
management or something like that. But then I look at you, but although you have this, then I'm like, well, the psychology also, it gives you a lot of this communication kind of
yeah.
writing or whatever, and then you had the criminal justice also is a lot of writing and all kind of. So you have that, although you did not have like the marketing education or the business, but you have this also, it has some heavy writing and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
what do you, onboarding for your company, what do you look for if someone is thinking about starting a content management? What do you look for the people you want to bring into your team?
Yeah, that's a great
What?
question. So, for the writers that I bring on, I don't care what their background is in. And maybe that's because my background is wildly different than from what I ended up doing and loving. But I really don't care what their schooling background is in. I don't even care if they went to college or not. I don't care.
Mhm.
What I'm looking for is someone who has empathy, because if they have empathy, then they can put themselves in the mind of the person who's reading the content. I'm looking for someone who is self-driven and very self-motivated, so someone who's proactive, maybe
Yeah,
someone
yeah,
who, when they fill out an application with us, they follow up with me. They are someone who is a natural problem solver and who really wants to get things right, not in a perfectionistic, obsessive kind of way, but someone who is motivated by their own intrinsic integrity. Also, I look for someone who has some kind of creativity. Maybe they're a writer, maybe they do have writing creativity. Maybe they're a designer and they have creativity. You need creativity in order to create anything as a freelancer. And then also, I look for someone who jives well with our company culture. So we are all about creating the best content that we possibly can
Yeah.
without being perfectionists. And also, we are dedicated to learning and growing without tearing anybody down or giving rude criticism or anything like that. Our editors often give constructive feedback to our writers, and it's all in this collaborative understanding that we are trying to make each other better. And I feel like that really is what keeps us together as a team. A lot of my writers have been with me for 3 years or more, and so by having this very supportive, like, let's help each other, let's understand each other, let's grow together mentality, if someone can fit into that, then I can teach them pretty much anything. I can teach them SEO, I can teach them how to write, I can teach them how to research, I can teach them to
Yeah.
be more efficient. But it's those qualities, those personality traits that I can't teach, and that's what I look for.
I was thinking too, probably I'd be a horrible person to hire, but here's one of the thing though. Like, no, here's one of the. So for me, I'm great. Like, I'm more of a bullet point
Hmm.
and like one sentence kind of person, right?
Hmm.
Very creative. I will do that. One bullet point. I will put bullet point. Like, this is what we should talk about.
Yeah.
This. You tell me to write like few paragraph, you just lost me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And it's funny, a lot of our clients are like that. We do
yeah.
have clients who they like to
Mhm.
write their own blog posts, but
Mhm.
really they'll send us their notes. They'll send us bullet points. And then our job is to adopt their voice and writing style,
Yeah.
add SEO to it, flesh it out into full paragraphs, add images to it, and make it look like they wrote a complete blog post when really they give us a bulleted list that was maybe half a page.
Ray, thank you so much. A lot of good information here. I really appreciate. Oh, I was going to ask you, how tall is your husband?
He's 5'11" and I'm 5'10".
What a way to disappoint your father. Your father probably he wanted you to marry like a 7'1". No, I'm messing with you. I'm messing.
No, no,
No,
my dad loves my husband. No.
no, I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. I thought you'd be like, hey, you know what? My dad is this tall. You gotta be that tall too. Like, I'm messing. Uh, Thank you so much, Ray, for chatting with me, taking the time to just kind of chat me, adding value to the headliners. Ray, maybe before you go, can you just kind of tell how people can find you, and then kind of just let's also summarize just a little bit what about the keep correct
Kyron.
Chiron and Cornell content marketing. Yeah, let's just
Sure.
see how people can find you, and also just summarize a little bit about those two companies.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. This was really fun talking to you.
Mhm.
Yes. So, if you want to learn more about Cornell Content Marketing, where we do content creation and inbound strategies for businesses, you can find us at Cornell, like the university, contentmarketing.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as Ray Cornell. That's my maiden name. And on Instagram as Cornell Content Marketing and on Facebook. For Chiron Consulting, if you are a creative self-employed business owner, if you're a freelancer and you want to learn more healthy business building skills that are tailored for our unique lifestyle, then you can go to chironconsulting.us, and Chiron is spelled Chiron, or you can find me on LinkedIn as Ray Hyde Cornell. Hyde is my married name, or on Instagram as Chiron Consulting.
Thank you so much, Ray, and I really appreciate it again. Have a
Thanks so
nice
much,
day,
Hyde.
right?
You
Thank
too.
you. All right.